Craig Mellon in for Chairman Hull on this Friday. The News Nation is following developing news. $85 billion worth of automatic cuts will start kicking in later today. There was no 11th hour deal. There was, however, a meeting between President Obama and congressional leaders. Then a frustrated president took the podium.
I told them these cuts will hurt our economy, lost us jobs, and to set it right, both sides need to be willing to compromise. And let's be clear, none of this is necessary. It's happening because a choice that Republicans in Congress have made. They've allowed these cuts to happen because they refuse to budge on closing a single wasteful loophole to help reduce the deficit.
House Speaker John Boehner reacted right after the meeting.
The House is going to move a continuing resolution next week to fund the government past March 27th. And I'm hopeful that we won't have to deal with the threat of a government shutdown while we're dealing with the sequester at the same time. The House will act next week, and I hope the Senate will follow suit.
Meanwhile, many lawmakers seeing the writing on the walls apparently hightailed it out of Washington yesterday for a three-day weekend. Not Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, California, though, a member of the House Appropriations Committee, joins me live now from D.C. Congressman Schiff, good to see you.
Good to see you, Craig.
The president said people will feel these cuts the longer they stay in place, but again, there does not seem to be a great deal of urgency to fix this. Many of your congressional colleagues left town there. What do you say to confuse people who are watching right now, who are wondering how we got here, why this happened, and what D.C. is going to do to fix this?
Well, it is excruciating for the American people, and the most problematic part of it is our economy is finally poised to really recover, but we have these man-made crises in Congress that continue to get in the way. And at the bottom line, I think, is that in order to get to yes, in order to have a compromise, both parties have to be willing to put something on the table. And right now, at least in the House GOP, there is not a willingness to come to the table. And it's been pretty clear, I think, for a month or a month and a half that the Speaker had made the decision we were going to have the sequester. It was necessary for him to have it go into effect to manage the expectations of his own conference. And so there was never any serious negotiation going on. That's why this is so anticlimactic at the end, and you have the House adjourning for the weekend. I mean, it's terribly irresponsible, I think, to be adjourning now and leaving this undone. But there isn't a willingness, at least on one side, yet to come to the table. If we can't get rid of a few special interest tax breaks to avoid additional cuts to defense and non-defense discretionary spending, it's crazy. And we have to keep in mind, non-defense discretionary spending already, even before the sequester, is at the lowest level in 50 years.
I want to get your reaction to what Republican Congressman Mike Turner of Ohio said earlier today here on MSNBC. Take a listen.
And you're standing here today with the president having broken his campaign promise, having signed sequestration into place without ever putting forth, after a year and a half of this going forward, a proposal that would replace it. He talks in broad concepts and says that he's blaming the Republicans and the Tea Party. The fact is, he hasn't turned in his homework. The only work that's being done on sequestration in the White House is coming out of the press shop.
Your response, sir?
Well, the president has put something on the table, and he's done this for months. And in fact, we really just had an election over this. And what the president has put on the table is a balanced program that, yes, cuts spending even more, but also raises revenues by doing away with tax loopholes enjoyed by hedge fund billionaires or jet plane owners or the oil industry, which is making the largest profits in its history. But instead, the GOP position seems to be, we are ready to cut health care for poor seniors before we'll do away with a tax break for hedge fund billionaires. And that's not where the American people are. In fact, that's not where Republicans are around the country. So I think the president has done his part. And if you look at what the president has already agreed to, we've done about $2.2 trillion in reduction already, and 2 to 1 it has been spending cuts.
Congressman, not to cut you off there, but really quickly, because you just mentioned something that the president mentioned at least a half dozen times during the press conference today. He talked about the American people being behind him as well, and that the results, as a result of the election, this is the balanced approach that most Americans would like to see done. Do you think that the GOP has just decided to heck with public opinion?
I don't think the GOP has, but I really think that, unfortunately, the Speaker is beholden to this clique within his conference of the Tea Party members who come from very safe gerrymandered districts, and they're unwilling to budge. And if he wants to be Speaker, he has to placate them. So I don't think it's something he's eager to do. He's, I think, at heart more of a pragmatist. Yeah. But this is where he's being led by a majority of his members, and they're willing to really, I think, expose to great risk the moderate members of the GOP in the House to take this extreme position. And it will probably take, as the President says, these members hearing from the public as the pain of the sequester goes into effect before they'll be willing to come to the table and really get to yes.
Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.